So I wanted to talk about the CRKT Dew Hawk. This karambit style knife, it's pretty interesting. There's a company or a movement called Forged by War. Seems to be a pretty good cause. Look into it if you haven't heard of it. But I'd been looking at karambits for a while, and if you've been looking for a karambit, you know that there is so many different styles, types, brands. And when I saw this from CRKT, I thought, well, I've got quite a few knives from them, and they've never really disappointed me. So why don't I check them out? I gotta say, this is the karambit. I mean, this thing is massive. I don't know if you can see on here, but we're dealing with, let's see here, 24 inches overall from tip to tip here. You know, they made it count. I don't know if you can tell. I've got size large hands. I've got full purchase here and then some. With a glove on, this thing fits the hand perfectly, which I think was kind of the intention to have this be utilized with a glove. I only say that because a lot of the photos of this thing show maybe a military type person holding it with a glove on. This is a great self-defense knife, and I just want to kind of walk through my thoughts about it. Obviously, I don't use it for much because it really is just for self-defense. I've cut cardboard boxes and things like that with it. Yeah, it cuts. It does a really good job. Let's just go over some of the materials here. So they've done some type of coating on here. And this coating, I imagine, is just for corrosion resistance and look, of course. The person involved in designing this is Magallan. Again, it's called the Dew Hawk. It's got G10 scales here laid on top of the steel. It's got some weight to it. I did not weigh it, but it is not light. Definitely, you can definitely feel it in hand. They've got the traditional karambit type curve here, and then they've taken it a step further. In the back side here is also sharpened. Now, I don't know if this is a state by state type law, but you can see they've got a grind here as well. This grind, this is not sharp. This is flat. I think it can be sharpened. I don't know if this was intentionally done by CRKT, but as it comes, you've got just the two edges. So you've got the inside here, the reverse belly, or maybe it is still called a belly, and then on the edge here, which is kind of almost a exaggerated tanto when it's flipped. But this thing, I mean, much like in nature, it's basically shaped like a claw. So when you dig in with it on anything, on a box is what I've used it on, it really cuts quite well. It really grabs and cuts. The handle, I mentioned G10 here, nice and grippy. It's milled to be kind of rounded but still have additional grip. The reverse grip has a great thumb hold here. So when you're holding it, it really does lock into place. I don't know if there's traditional, this is obviously a martial arts type blade design, or at least there's martial arts built around it. It's not as comfortable with a regular grip. It really does feel like it's meant to be held reverse grip. And then there is on here, I don't know if you can see this here, but it's almost like a pinky cutout if you wanted to hold it just regularly, but it's definitely more comfortable with the pinky or index finger going through the opening here. Speaking of the opening, It is beveled around the edges, so there's really not a sharp edge to be found there. Really comfortable. There is a sharp edge around the rest of it. They could have maybe rounded all that as well, but that said, there's not a whole lot of interaction happening with this end piece here. Yeah. So if you're in the market for a Karambit, as I was for some time, this is where I ultimately ended up going, and I don't regret it. It's definitely not a everyday carry because this thing is pretty massive, but it works great with like a chest rig or a backpack. If you do any kind of hiking or anything, this will do a lot of tasks you may need it for. All right, thanks guys.